interact and raise your hand as well. Besides the chat, you can also do that in the participant section. Next to your name, you just raise your hand. We'll come back around to you and get your question answered that you have for the speakers. All right, so I'm gonna pass it on to Daniel, who's gonna introduce our guest speakers.
I appreciate it, Tahaji. Thank you very much for those of you who chose to join us today. Looking forward to it. Last week was actually a really great experience. Some great information. Even I took notes, and I know a lot of this stuff. So there's definitely a lot of great information being shared by our guest virtual experts. Today we have Miss Ella, and I'm not going to try to say your last name because I'm probably going to mess it up a little bit. And then Josuel.
Hey.
And your last name, please.
Plasencia.
Plasencia. And Ella, your last name?
Gokcigdem. You could just say G. Yeah.
So both of these individuals, both of these young entrepreneurs have actually participated in actually starting businesses while they were in high school. Ella actually came in as one of our runner-ups last year for our national competition. Not only that, she went a step above and beyond, an overachiever. She didn't come up with a business plan and concept. She actually had created her product and actually had sold out at the time that we had come to New York. So we're not just learning from somebody who's done some great things on paper. She actually has had a lot of experience by actually going through that experience. And well, actually had started this business while he was in school as well. I don't know if it was the same business or as a different iteration or something slightly different, but he's now he's the founder, of Forefront, which is an organization that works with empowering students. And he's actually been recently recognized as one of Forbes 30 under 30. So you can imagine how amazing an honor that is. So we're going to go ahead and give you just a quick moment to do a couple of things. Introduce yourselves, the high school that you went to, what year you graduated, and just tell us a little bit about your business and your pitch, and then what you've been up to since then. So the floor is yours. We will go ladies first.
Thank you. So my name is Ella Gokcigdem. It's nice to meet you all. I am from Arlington, Virginia, specifically Wakefield High School. I'm still in the NFTE program. I'm supposed to graduate in June, but due to COVID-19, that's probably not going to happen, but I call myself class of 2020. My business is ePro Technologies, and it's a tech company that provides high school athletes with 100% recycled plastic earbuds, and I coded and designed my own white noise technology that makes them noise canceling, so they're affordable and high quality. Currently, due to COVID-19, I've had to halt operations because I manufacture overseas, but to give me more time to work on a nonprofit I'm starting as well, I kind of pivoted to work on both businesses, and it's called Youth Environmental Society. So yeah.
Awesome. And then Josuel, you are up. Talk to us.
Hey, thank you, Daniel. It's great to see so many of you in the camera all over the world, all over the country. I'm in New York City, Josuel Plasencia. My company is called Forefront, and my company works with students and is a career platform directly on your phone where we support you in reviewing your resume, giving you mock interview prep, reviewing your LinkedIn, helping you create a LinkedIn. So it's something that is very much connected to all of you, as all of you look into starting a business or joining a company. We hope that you can use our platform. It's called Carmen AI is the name of the platform. And our company is Forefront. I'm really excited to connect with all of you and you know, start a connection. We're very mentorship focused, so happy to do this.
Awesome. We appreciate both of you taking time out of your day. I am sure that you have a lot that is on your plate as you pivot between being partly entrepreneurs, fully entrepreneurs, some students, and everything else that you have going on with your life. So I appreciate you taking some time to speak with us. So talk to me a little bit, right? Because a lot about what we do here in the NFTE program is driven around helping students to come up with ideas. that or problems to solve and then build businesses around. So can you speak a little bit to the process of what it took for you? Like how did you come up with the idea to start your business when you first started out?
Should I go first? Okay.
Absolutely.
So in the spring of 2018, I endured a concussion, which made me increasingly noise sensitive. And when I looked in the market, the earbuds that were being sold were either too expensive, and I didn't really resonate with any of the business's mission statements. And I already had previous experience with AutoCAD, so I thought to myself, why not, with all the free time, because I couldn't go to school after that, why not start coding and make my own white noise technology to make affordable earbuds that I could sell to my local high school peers. So from there, I spent a lot of time coding, and I contacted about 100 manufacturers because a lot of people started rejecting me. But only one responded, which took off after that. I placed my initial order. It cost me $800 to start up. It was my life savings, birthday money, parent money, also my little entrepreneurial ventures like lemonade stands as a kid. I always saved it up. And it converted really quickly. I had to sell only 30 earbuds to break even, and from there it just is self-sustaining. I'm profitable, and I'm continuing to sell to my local high school sports teams, and I hope to partner with college sports teams as well in the future.
Wow, that is an awesome origin story.
I forgot to
Josuel, pardon me?
They're also made out of 100% recycled material. I just wanted to.
Well, and I do want to touch on that as we progress. I definitely want to come back to that point. Josuel, you are up. Talk to me, man. What was your superhero origin story?
Well, as I said, I grew up in New York City. So my parents are immigrants from the Dominican Republic, and they came here and have that immigrant story of they came here basically on economic asylum, right, from the DR, trying to change things up and try to build a better future for themselves in this country. And I was born in 1995, so I'm 25 right now. And my story, when you hear it, it sounds like that kind of story you see on TV of whatever, kid from the inner city or, low income immigrant kid. But it's actually a story that I feel has really pushed me forward. So my dad was deported from the US, which means he was kicked out of the country, basically, when I was just a few years old for a minor offense, something that today would be a slap on the wrist. He got deported, leaving my mom to raise me by herself. And my mom worked minimum wage jobs in a shoe store. And we lived together in an attic apartment in a room. And that was my life growing up. But that said, I had parents that really loved me and really pushed me to go out there and go to public schools and get by. And I did. And so I ended up at Babson College. And, as a kid, I always say that my dreams as a kid was to be a baseball player. And I played a lot of baseball. But then when that didn't work out, and then I decided to have new dreams, which were more, I guess, traditional dreams to be in corporate America, right, in big companies and whatever. I showed up, but it didn't look like a baseball team anymore. And the leaders were not the leaders were not Big Papi or David Ortiz. They were now Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates, right? And they didn't look like me, and that was a challenge, and that was something that needed to change. And I was really passionate about that because I don't know about, I'm just meeting all of you, seeing you today, but diversity is real. There is a big lack of Latino people, of African-American people, of women leaders in entrepreneurship, in business, in education. Everywhere you look, there's a lot of underrepresentation. And that was something that was really struck me. And I needed that to change. I needed to be part of that change. So I actually quit corporate America, even though I was the first in my family to even graduate high school. And even though the companies that I was, like Goldman Sachs, I could be making 3 times, 4 times what anyone in my family was making in terms of money in banking. But I quit because I really was just really driven by this desire to change things up, and that's how Forefront was born, you know. It started training. We started as a training company doing workshops and businesses, and now we've transitioned to Carmen AI, which is a product I was mentioning in my introduction, which is a career tool to help students prepare to break into these companies, and it's doing mentoring, but at scale. So through technology, doing mentoring. So yeah, that's how we got started, and it's very personal to me.
Awesome. And I don't want you to unmute, to mute yourself, because I wanted to follow up, because I was looking at your LinkedIn profile, right? And you've worked for some pretty big names in the industry, right? So can you speak a little bit to how your passion propelled you to say, okay, I can go this way and have the security, or I can go this way and have the significance? Can you talk a little bit about how all of the places you've been on your stop prepared you for where you are now?
Yeah, so you know, it's a tricky subject, I want to say, because I think that we need to be all grounded in terms of where we are, what's our context, in terms of, should we go into starting a business? Should we go into working a job? And every context is different. Everyone's story is different, because I feel like a lot of people just jump to conclusions saying, hey, the coolest thing in the world is to start a company, so you need to do it. A lot of that is marketing. Sometimes some people say, hey, you should just, start a business, get experience. You should join a company, get experience, and then start a business. Sometimes that's just playing it too safe. That sometimes is drinking the Kool-Aid. So there could be drinking the Kool-Aid either way you slice it, right? So you just need to be conscious of what is it that you really care about, and who are you, right? So I'm looking at the names here on the screen: Emily, Anthony, Andres, Elizabeth. What are your experiences? What are you into? Some people, you tell them that you talk about entrepreneurship, and they'll say, hey, I could never work in a traditional company a day in my life. Some people are like that. Some people just can't do it. And that's when they become business owners. And sometimes you hear the opposite. Some people say, hey, I kind of freak out I freak out when there's not a lot of direction and when things are not very clear, which is very much what it means to start a business. So maybe I want to start in a job at the beginning. So it's really about knowing who you are. And for me, I can actually play in both worlds. So I was in kind of that traditional world at the beginning. And I know I could do it well, but I wasn't going to be happy. So you also have to know, you could be good at something, but if it's not making you happy, then don't do it, because you don't want to be happy. You don't want to be unhappy. You don't want to be sad. So I didn't like it, and I quit, and that's how I started the company. And I actually like what I'm doing now.
Awesome.
Even though it's a lot of challenges still, I like it more than that kind of corporate job, as you mentioned.
Awesome. And Ella, one of the things that I heard you say was about you couldn't find products that you couldn't resonate with their mission, right? And so when talking about your story and talking about resonating with your mission, how do you think that informed how you approached creating your product?
Yeah, so like Josuel, I'm from Turkey. My parents are both immigrants from Turkey, and it really instilled appreciation for nature from a really young age. The summer after I started coding, I was really thinking about what materials I wanted to go into the product, and every summer I go to Turkey. It's a small island called Avşa, and my grandmother and I always used to go on walks and pick up plastic from the beach. And the more I grow up, I noticed how the plastics started getting smaller and smaller. It was harder to pick up, and at first I didn't understand why, but they were turning into microplastics, which are way more dangerous than normal bottle caps. So I started thinking, what if the things that I could find on my beach could go into my product? They're still plastic. It's just it ends up in the wrong place. So when I was looking through different businesses, the earbud industry, you don't really look at sustainable options. It's just if it works well, if the battery lasts well, it's good for me. But I wanted more than that. I really believe in corporate social responsibility and using entrepreneurship as a platform to advocate for any mission you want. So I started exploring more, and I really saw potential. And I think that it worked because a lot of high schoolers are believing in my mission, and as well as NFTE, which I'm very grateful for. It really made me stand out. I always thought like my soft spot for nature would become a weakness growing up, but I can use it as my benefit now. And I found a manufacturer called Green Dot Bioplastics, and they provided my manufacturer with recycled material. And from there, it just went up, and it makes me really happy that I'm starting to, even though I'm still in high school, I'm learning more about how you can integrate environmental sustainability, and I hope to take it further in the future.
Awesome. And you touched on it a little bit, but talk to us a little bit about your process of idea to market.
Yeah.
Especially with a product-based business, because that couldn't have been easy to pull off.
No, it really wasn't. And at the time when I started coding, I wasn't in a NFTE class. I started coding when I was a sophomore, and I joined NFTE as a junior. So that whole time where I was just by myself, it was very scary. I didn't know what to do because I had AutoCAD files. I just didn't know what to do. So the summer before that, in my freshman year, I took a class on edX from MIT called Starting a Venture. And I also went to a camp at UC Berkeley. I got a scholarship to go there and learn about entrepreneurship. So I just dug through my notes, took as much, and I tried to apply it to my real life. I took the CAD files, and as I said, I messaged so many manufacturers, and I found one that actually was willing to design my technology and put it into the earbuds, which was a huge start for me. Like, everything paid off, and it took at least a month for one person. It really taught me to persevere, because you never know when it's gonna. I look at this quote by Mark Cuban a lot. It only takes one time to, like, you could fail as many times. You only have to win once, and then it's just up from there. So
Awesome.
I took the earbuds, and the return rate was really quick. I placed an order in December, and it came in January. Then I just started selling, and I only sold within my high school. And then after a while, I wanted to expand after the NFTE national competition, and I went on Squarespace and ShipStation and started taking orders online. I learned so much from that. It was very chaotic. I went to my favorite teacher's room, and the whole room was covered with shipping boxes. And it was just me, and I had to package everything myself. And that happened. But you really just need to believe in yourself, because at the end of the day, I know this people say this a lot, but you're your biggest fan. You can only depend on yourself. As long as you put in the work, it will come true eventually.
Awesome. That is an awesome.
Hey Daniel, some of the students in the chat room would love to see if Ella and Josuel can post any type of resources. They have links to their stuff in the chat box if possible. So if you have the URL you would like to share, you can just put it in the chat box.
Thank you.
Send it to everyone.
Absolutely. And Josuel, talk to us a little bit about your process, right? Because you're saying, you had what everyone would think was success at the corporate level, but you weren't fulfilled. So then how do you take that? How do you take those steps, right? You said you quit the job and you started the company, right? Like that there's so many steps and so many things you have to do in between then, because was it a month? Was it 6 months? Was it a year? Was it a couple of years? What was that process like for you?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it is connected to the marketing point and the Kool-Aid point, because media and magazines and movies, they make it seem like these companies, people that we look up to, mentors, they were kind of done overnight, right? And it's, quite frankly, it's BS. Most stories, most people that started businesses, that are entrepreneurs, that are good at what they do, whether you're looking at Michael Jordan or whoever you look up to, they put in the work. It wasn't overnight, right? So, but we're just sold that story. And the reason we're sold that story is because it makes money, right? And it's a very powerful narrative, and things that make money are sold to us. So I think that you really have to look at a very rare situation where overnight there was like this massive success. These are when things happen overnight, it's very much by chance, for whatever reason, right? So I mean, right now we're in the middle of a very unfortunate, pandemic. Say that you had some sort of business or idea that was, selling masks or something. You didn't see this coming. Obviously, maybe your business would be booming right now because of this sudden change. That is very rare, right? Most of the time, it's a lot of work and a lot of things that go into that process. And then in terms of my story, I think my story is like I said, like most people's stories, it's a long process of discovery, of asking myself, what are those things that I'm interested in? What are those things that I'm not? So in my case, when I was in high school, when I was in your position, I was in like, there was a lot of like influence around entrepreneurship. So my school had NFTE, even though I didn't go to NFTE, I didn't participate in NFTE. So it was basically, there was a lot of this world that you're all in. It was the world I was in. So I was exposed to that. It was always in my head, and that's why I went to a school that was very business focused as well, which was Babson. And then when I went to Babson, I was further exposed to that. So that was always in my head. I was always talking to people, seeing if it was a good fit for me. And then when it was time to decide, I actually didn't go for entrepreneurship at the beginning. But when I found out that my job wasn't something that was really fulfilling me, and I saw the opportunity, I went forward with actually starting the business forefront. And I started it very early on, 3 years ago. So it was just a conversation of talking to a lot of people. That's how I got there. And when I made the decision, I made sure that I knew a lot about what I was getting into in terms of what it means to start a business, right? So because you don't want to just get into it without resources. You want to have an idea of what you should expect in the process, whether that's from a team member perspective, money perspective, et cetera. And when you do that, it's good to be in an accelerator program or in a program that guides you through that process. So business accelerators are very good if you're starting a business because they mentor you through that process. And we participated in multiple, and in fact, we still do. So that you're not going into it blind.
Awesome. And really quick, both of you kind of spoke briefly about the importance of perseverance and dealing and working through failure, right?
Mr. Can you mute your mic, please? Thank you. Go ahead, Daniel.
No problem. And a lot of our students deal with that, right? Deal with partly the fear of failure, but then also kind of working through challenges. So could you each kind of speak just briefly about that, the fact that failure is a part of the process? Whichever one wants to speak first.
You could go first. I'm still thinking.
Yeah, I mean, failure is everything, So there's risk in everything. One risk for me, but the thing is, you have to kind of, like I said, context is everything. So I don't want to repeat myself, but right now, I would find it a bigger life risk if I was in a company working for some business, like a big bank or something, because I feel like I would be wasting my time. And that's just my view, because that's how I view risk. That's, for me, that would be wasting time, because that's just not what I like to do. and I'd rather be an entrepreneur, start a business, and do this work. So that's a kind of a personal version of failure that I guess I'm avoiding. But in terms of failure in running a business, in whatever you do, there's going to be risk involved. At the end of the day, if the less risk, the less, for me, it's the less exciting. And you have to be okay with risk. You have to be okay with failure, because from failure is that you're going to learn things about yourself, right? That you're going to kind of build a stronger skill set, right? You're just going to be a sharper person, right? Because when you make a mistake and you kind of get burnt, you kind of tend to not do it again, right? So I love failure, and I personally, for several years, and I know this is hard, I actually view failure and success the same way. So I don't get too excited by the good news. Like you said, Daniel, Forbes 30 under 30, it's not a big deal. Actually, it isn't a big deal, and it's marketing at the end of the day. And if you're doing this for marketing, you're going to be depressed and sad. To be frank, you got to be doing it because you care about it, and then that's going to make you really, really happy. Whatever you do, you can't do it just for awards, right? So at the end of the day, any success or failure, I just move on and I adapt and I get stronger, because I know when I get stronger, I'm going to get bigger in terms of as a business, as an entrepreneur, and in terms of impact. So I try not to get hung up by success or failures, but I do obsess around the details. What happened? What could I do different next time? What could I change? Because I'm going to come in and I'm very competitive. Next time I'm going to come in stronger, and I'm going to, just be in a better place the next time I do whatever that thing is, whether it's a new marketing strategy, a new business, a new product, a new team member, etc.
Awesome.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like, failure is inevitable. It's just what you do with the failure. And that really defines you as a person. You could really see if entrepreneurship is the thing for you, if you're really scared of failure. Entrepreneurship is one of the most risky things. Even though I'm a high schooler, I always say this to everyone: the high school is the best time to start a business, because what are you going to lose? The government can't take anything from you. Even though $800 is a lot of money, some people put everything in, and I'm learning more about how risky it is. And I failed multiple times, and the thing what I did with it, I didn't let it hold me back or make me sad, because I believe in the mission so much that it just was a boost for me. I remember when I was preparing for nationals, in terms of pitching, NFTE invited me to pitch at MasterCard headquarters in Boston, Virginia, and I failed so badly. It was the most embarrassing thing I've ever done. I stuttered and nationals was in 2 days. So I came home, I reevaluated everything. And the one thing I found about myself is that I don't work well. I found out that I pitch better when I'm practicing by myself, and I let the stress when I'm on the actual stage, I pitch better. For some reason, this probably does not apply to everybody, but the main point of the story is you need to learn about yourself and basically don't let any failure stop you, because as everyone says, it's a setback only if you view it as a setback.
Awesome. And talk to us a little bit about, you were saying how you were trying to find something that you created something where the mission plus sustainability plus affordability. So talk to us a little bit about your pricing strategy and how you kind of arrived at that.
Yeah, so a lot of people really basically confronted me about my marketing tactic, because they said, anyone can use earbuds. Why are you just targeting high schoolers? But my pricing is just so appealing to high schoolers that it just made the most amount of money for me. I integrated this marketing platform called ePro Ambassadors, and I basically hired high school athletes to market my product for me. So I didn't have to pay any money for marketing except for my business. And it was just a domino effect. When I told one person, they could have been in 5 different sports teams. So they told different people, they saw them wearing the earbuds. The earbuds don't fall out, by the way, money back guaranteed. So athletes love them. And it's so affordable that high schoolers just told everybody. And the amount of referral codes, the success rate was so large that I knew that I hit the right spot. The most problem was the pricing. People said it was either too cheap or too expensive. I started off selling them at $25 each. and everyone said it was too cheap. But as a startup business, I wanted to gain trust before I really upped the price. So I think that was a really strategic move. And then after I pitched at the district competition and I got second place, it really proved my business was worthy and people actually liked my product. So I upped the price by $5, so it's $30. When I started selling it online, I boosted it to $40. And the thing is, it's just people are willing to spend more money when people recommend it to them because they trust peers more than someone on Instagram. So I really marketed on that.
Awesome. Josuel, talk to us a little bit about how you kind of put together your pricing strategy and positioning for the marketplace.
Yeah, well, I think that pricing and details like that, I think that right now, if you're in high school and you're starting this business, I wouldn't worry about it too much, you know. And I think that Nifty is not going to say that, but this is my viewpoint, because at the end of the day, I think that there's like the technical aspect of running a business, and then there's the not technical, which is the thing that you feel in your gut that just makes you really, really excited, right? So, of course, if you're taking a test, around, how finance and whatnot, you want to know the answer if you want to get a good grade, if the grade matters to get into a good school, stuff like that. But for running a business, especially at the beginning, you want to understand if that's something that you want to do. I've said it many times, but I think once you want to start with more high-level questions, right? For example, and then the pricing will come to you, right? So the high-level questions are, what is the thing that I'm solving for, right? Because at the end of the day, people buy stuff when you're solving a problem for them. And if you are if you're not solving a problem for somebody, they're not going to buy it. They're not going to be interested, right? And some people say you're either, it's almost like you're a painkiller or you're a vitamin, right? So you're either selling one of those two things, right? So you're just making someone a little bit better with what you do, or you're actually like solving a pain that they have, right? So as you can imagine, there's a reason why grocery stores sell, gasoline stations sell, homes sell, et cetera, right? So you got to see what is that problem you're solving. So if, your idea is, hey, this is a random idea. I sell a certain software that will allow, this is very random, that would allow Nifty to control the screen at the beginning of the meeting, right? So you bet Nifty will buy that at the end of this call. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? Like, right? So because you're solving a problem for them that they just experienced. And in fact, some background stories is that this is actually a problem not for the entire virtual community, because a lot of Zoom meetings are public. So imagine if you're having a meeting with your investors, your big business, and you don't know that Zoom meetings are public. A lot of them, this one is not public because Nifty knows that and has made it private and locked the room. But imagine if you're having a business meeting and you don't know this, and someone comes in and does whatever they want with your meeting. So that has happened a lot. I think it's called Zoom bombing or something like that. But anyways, it's what is it that you're solving for your user? And then once you have that, thing, whatever that problem you're solving, if you get a lot of evidence of that, then you can move into some of that nuance around how much are they willing to pay, because, that company that you have the special software to control the screen, they might not be willing to pay $10,000 for it, but they might be willing to pay $50,000. But then you later find out that they might be willing to pay $300,000. And that's kind of where you get into pricing, is willingness to pay at a high level. It could get much, much more complex than that, but I think that's a good place to start to think about pricing. But first, do that first step and then get to the second one around willingness to pay.
Awesome. That is an amazing value to what you just said, right? When we're talking about business, do you have any additional quick tips that students can kind of think about when they're developing their business model? You already spoke about the pricing strategy that you use, and same thing for Ella. But talking about developing their business model, what are some of the top 3 things that you would recommend for students to keep in mind?
I know that when you're starting a business, you're very passionate about it, and you might when you're writing the business model, you might write something that doesn't make sense to anybody else, because you know your business better than anybody. And I remember drafting my business model for nationals, and I wrote some stuff that only made sense to me, but I made people look over it and they're like, this makes no sense. So make sure that you make someone you trust read it over, especially your NFTE teacher, because they're always there to help. There's all of NFTE, they're all willing to help you succeed. So really make sure what you're writing can make sense to anybody, and just read it over. Make sure you're not over exaggerating something. And back to determining your costs, the really simple step I took is that I took my cost of goods sold, which was $12.60, and I just doubled it, which is $24. And that gives me more flexibility, because I could either go down or up and it won't hurt me as much. But make sure you're making money. I don't pay myself, but I want to make sure I'm profitable, because in the long term, if I suffer any losses, I don't want to lose all my money. I think that's very important.
Awesome. Josuel.
Absolutely. Great question. So I would say for the tips for your business model and your business in general, the first one is definitely test, right? So get out there, talk to people. The number one, from what I've seen, from the people that I've talked to, the number one, when it comes to starting a business, the number one thing that I see gets in the way for very early stage businesses is that they actually never actually start. They just talk about it and nothing happens. So if you actually want to do this, it's amazing how people, they feel really good talking about it to friends. I guess it's really easy to open your mouth and talk, but it's hard to actually do the work. So if you want to do this, just go ahead, just do it, right? Just start it. It's literally, it's crazy, but now with technology, you could start a business in 20 minutes, because you start a website, you go Google free websites, you create a thing, and it could just be a teaser. It doesn't need to be a real thing. But if you have, say, a makeup company and you start a website called fancyglittersflorida.com, and you put a photo and you put an email link, and you have people on the wait list, and you tell, hey, I have this new business, Fancy Glitters Florida, here's the website, put your email here. You have a business. Maybe you don't have the entity, but people can sign up, and then in the future you can create that product and send it to them. And maybe you walk to their house and give it to them. You're not actually mailing it to them, but you got to test. You got to test, and that's how you're going to learn. The second is what I'm about to do now, which is just put yourself out there, be bold, and don't be afraid, because like they say, every shot that you don't take, you're going to miss. So for example, right now, I want to invite everybody in this call, give them a special invite, a direct invite, to test out our product, to help you review your resume, do mock interview prep, and all of that. And I want all of you to give us feedback on how we can make this product better. And it's completely free for all of you. And it has a secret code, and I'm going to send you the link to sign up. You can sign up right now while I'm speaking. The secret code is Carmen:75. I sent it in the chat. This is for all of you to use a free resource so you can check out our company, what we're doing. So the sign up here is there, and then the secret code, you can sign up right now directly from your computer or your phone. It would take 1 second. So that's an ask I have for all of you to give us feedback. That's me testing it. That's me being bold. And then the third is have fun. And I'm having fun in this call. And I look forward to continuing the conversation through our platform, which I hope you will sign up for.
Awesome. And great job with just inviting us to kind of interact with you on a larger and broader scale. That's really well done. I don't want to keep talking, so I won't ask my questions. I do want to kind of pivot and take a couple of the questions from what we've gotten submitted in the chat. We have Frankie V, who wanted to know about strategies that can be used in researching the economy in order to find the best product. Not necessarily times like right now, but as a general recommendation, general principles. So what are some strategies that can be used to research the economy in order to find the best product for your business?
In terms of demand? Or just general?
I think he's thinking, I think my understanding from the question is both of you built businesses around something you're passionate around. How did you research whether or not there was a customer for what you were building?
I really profited off of me being a high schooler. Whenever I did market research, I could just go out to the cafeteria and stop random people and just ask. It was really convenient for me. I didn't have to spend any money. I just used my own time. I basically really use personal experiences to determine, and also marketing research is so important. Like, I got it easy, but it's really easy to just make a product. I always think of this because I remember someone mentioned that you need to solve a problem for somebody else. But whenever I think of this, unless you're a celebrity, because Kylie Jenner with her lip kit, she's a billionaire now, but she created the lip kit to solve her own problem. And then just because of the name, everyone started buying it. We are not Kylie Jenner yet. We need to make sure we're solving a problem for somebody else, or else no one will buy your product. So also connections, I'm assuming. You could talk to other people, get them to basically pitch in on your idea to make sure it's as structured as possible. Yeah.
Awesome. And Josuel, you had an intuition. How did you quantify a marketplace for your idea?
Yeah, so a great question. So we just went out there. So at the beginning, this company was focused on in-person training. So we didn't do the technology right away. The technology comes now, and I shout out to Adrian and Nauhau. I might be mispronouncing your name, Noel, who already signed up on Carmen. Already see who's signed up. But before we could do the software, we actually spent several years actually testing it in person. So because we didn't know anything about technology, we weren't engineers, so we did what we can, and we knew that to do career coaching, to do mentoring, to do the work of building inclusion, and to try to change the leadership in these companies and make it more diverse. What is it that we can do if we're in college and we don't know anything about technology? Well, we maybe could start a training company doing this in person, literally getting people together to have conversations. And that's how we started. And that's how we did it at the beginning. And we did it for free for a long time because no one was going to pay us when we didn't have any legitimacy. And then once we did it free few times, we did it, we took a lot of photos, did videos, then we could tell businesses about it. And literally, we were seniors in college, and we got our first client out of the dorm rooms with that marketing, with that passion. And that obviously, once you get the first client, it's easier to get the second one, the third one, the fourth one, the fifth one, etc. And then 2 years into the business, we had 20 plus clients that were hiring us to do workshops. And then after that, we learned a lot from them. We asked them a lot of questions. We reviewed what they told us, and then we took that feedback into creating Carmen AI, which is what we're interacting with right now, and all of you are interacting with right now via your phone. So it was a step-by-step process. We didn't rush it. We wanted to learn, and that's how we tested it. and that's a standard that happens often. Maybe you can't get to the best version of your idea, but you take a version of it and then you start that, and then you kind of build up to it.
Lean startup.
Yeah, being scrappy, and people that are scrappy tend to be better in their businesses. So a lot of businesses, they talk about, oh, investors, if I have investors. A lot of businesses that get investors get lazy because they can, last night there was we were speaking about this with a group of entrepreneurs of the businesses right now. A lot of businesses that had a lot of investor money are really struggling because they literally had to shut their doors, cut employees, and all that money that they had, they're kind of freaking out. They're like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do with my investors and this money? But if you were scrappy and you didn't have investors and you didn't have money and you're used to storms and you're used to chaos, there was a pandemic. People are literally, it's a very serious situation right now. But a lot of people wake up like nothing happened because they're so used to living in chaos. And that's me. I'm used to it. And I think that's a stronger skill set for whatever you do.
Awesome. Ella, there is a question about like a walkthrough of how you found a manufacturer. You spoke about having to make a bunch of calls and you finally found a manufacturer that fit the criteria that you were looking for. You want to kind of build on that just a little bit. I think somebody wants to kind of follow in your footsteps. You're on mute.
Sorry. It wasn't really rocket science. I just Googled earbud manufacturers and I just got a list of a bunch of people. And I said, okay, I can't start, like if I start now, I'll at least have one contact. Like I can't say I never contacted anybody. So I just emailed everybody and either they didn't respond or they said, no, sorry. Some of them were rude. I just kept on emailing and it's all the lists. Google is such an amazing resource. There's just everybody you need to find. I didn't have any connections. I just, as I said, Googled earbud manufacturers until one responded. And I can't explain how happy I was. It really validated my work. And it just comes to show that it'll always, not always happen, but as long as you work hard enough, there's always someone willing to manufacture your product in this case.
Awesome. Now, Edgar wants to know, talk a little bit about competition and kind of handling that. Not just the competition for pitching, but like the competition products or other businesses that you compete against in your space.
Yeah, I get that a lot. I did not invent Bluetooth wireless earbuds. There are hundreds of thousands of earbuds on the market. But as I said, I really, really wanted to be niche. And a lot of people questioned me about that and basically said, why? As I said, it worked out perfectly because it just worked. I was a high schooler. I had all these people that I could market to. And it was just so easy. And I feel like I just hit a spot where athletes were looking for affordable earbuds that did not fall out of their ears. Like AirPod Pros, they cost $260. And they just looked for me. And I was known as the earbud girl. People just come to me. I give them the earbuds and they give amazing reviews. I also started a video campaign. I started recording. I love making video advertisements. So I made a video commercial. I could send a link later on. And it just went viral. I just filmed my school's athletes wearing the earbuds and doing runs and sprints. I even featured myself because I'm a tennis player. And it just went so viral. People wanted to be in it and it generated at least $1,000 of revenue just from that commercial. So it just comes to show that as long as you believe in your mission and it's not that drastic, it will pay off. So there's no wireless earbud that one is targeted towards high school students. And also I am the first product to be made out of 100% recycled plastic because most businesses aren't willing to make that step to reduce their profit just to be more sustainable. So I took a risk.
Awesome. And it's funny because while we were in New York, one of our IT guys actually had bought your headphones and was like, no, it's actually a really good product. So, that's to attest to what you were saying about the level of quality for that.
Thank you. That makes me happy.
Josuel, talk to us a little bit about, I know there are other resources that do similar things, but how did you carve out a space for what you do?
Yeah, it's hard. That's the first thing. It's really hard. One of the things that is that kind of really interesting about entrepreneurship is that it kind of the basis of entrepreneurship and business. Unfortunately, I hope this really changes, and I think it can change. I'm optimistic. Unfortunately, the basis of it is very competitive. It's very cutthroat. And even if you're a very nice person like me, even though I'm competitive, I think I'm a nice person. I cannot be naive to that. A lot of people are not going to be nice. They're going to try to, steal ideas from me or steal my talent. We've had one person that we were training in our secret methodology, our approach, our, kind of the thing that we do really well. And literally after a year, one of our competitors who has more money than us, maybe actually there's an advantage of having money. There is, they were able to hire them and away from us, right? So it's that kind of world out there. So just be conscious of that. I think that learn from your competitors as much as you can. We literally get an email every day from our competitors, not them sending it to us. It's a Google alert. So Google does this thing that if you put, say you're a big Mets fan, I'm a big Mets fan, and I want to get the latest news on the Mets, I go to Google Alerts and I put the Mets, and then every day I get an email from Google about all the news, the latest news on the Mets from the Google News, right? So we have Google News and our competitors, so we're always on top of them. What are they thinking about? And we're learning from them, just like the way they would learn from us. But we don't do anything shady, because at the end of the day, shady stuff, kind of keeps up with you, and people don't forget, especially the shady stuff. But yeah, the other thing I would say for that is, and I know we're kind of wrapping up. I could go over if you want, but I don't know your schedule. But that said, you want to be conscious of competitors, but if in terms of your business idea, especially when it's just an idea, don't be afraid to share it, because most people are not going to just copy your idea. And even if they do, your idea is going to change over time. So even if they copy it, doesn't even matter, because at the early stage, your business is going to change. So I think that's one of the biggest myths that we have, though, is, yeah, be careful. The world is crazy. But in terms of your idea, like, stop pretending like it's Apple in day one, because it's not. And if your idea doesn't change from day one or day two, then it's going to fail, because ideas only get better when they change and they evolve. So you have nothing to lose with like literally telling the world what your idea is, because when you do, you're actually going to broadcast to the world what you're into. And from it, people are going to give you resources, which is what you want. You want resources. You want free talent. You want free money. You want people to buy your product. How they're going to know about it unless you don't tell them about it? So hopefully that's a bit straightforward.
Awesome. Last two questions. The first one is very simple. Ella, can you tell us what the name of your product is?
ePro Tech wireless earbuds.
Awesome. And then my last question is very simple. Words of wisdom for, and I presume, Josuel, you've done a few pitches in your time as well. Words of wisdom for surviving and giving a great pitch.
I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I was freaking out during nationals because there were so many people there, and as well said, there are some that are cutthroat. They want to win, and I view myself as a very nice person too, which was a disadvantage for me growing up. But now, joining entrepreneurship, I learned how to find a middle line, not be too soft. But it was really overwhelming. You really need to assert yourself and believe in your worth, because especially when you're on the stage, it might be very nerve-wracking, but then you look at the lights and you see all the people there just wanting to watch you succeed. It's it's just an amazing feeling. And looking back, I just wouldn't have had it any other way. You learn how to overcome the nerves, which is inevitable. You're going to be nervous. If you're not, I don't know, it's going to happen. So it's just really finding a way around it and making the most out of the situation, because at NFTE, everyone wants you to succeed and they give tremendous opportunities.
Awesome. Well, talk to us. And I presume you know, if you're dealing with accelerators and incubators, you've probably gone through a few pitches on your journey as well.
Yeah, this is always improving. The pitch is always improving. I'm always getting feedback from my team, from my co-founder, my business partner, around how I could get better. And like anything in running a business, you have to listen to feedback, get feedback. Feedback is king. Feedback at the beginning of your business, actually, feedback is more important than money, because, you know, even if you get, you know, someone to buy your customer, or 2 people to buy your customer, but you know nothing about them, or you know nothing about how you can improve, you're going to stay with those 2 customers. You're just going to stay with those $200, $300. But instead, if you have $0, but then really good feedback, you implement that, you can really grow. So for our pitch and my pitch, I have a long way to go. I want to be one of the best pitchers, the best public speakers out there. To get there is going to be years of training, years of mastering the craft. So if you have any feedback for me, send it to me, Julia, Daniel, the students. How can I be more inspirational? How can I do more work? I don't know. That's my mindset. So yeah.
Awesome. We want to thank you. I can't speak for the 108 other people that are still on this call, but I appreciate you sharing your insights and your knowledge and your experience. I took notes. I see some people leaving different notes and things that were said that really resonated with them. So thank you so very much. Students, we appreciate you tuning in. By all means, feel free, please let them know website, social media that they can each keep in touch with you.
And students, also don't forget, if you're part of the NFTE Florida, Atlanta, North Carolina, there's a link in the chat window for you to fill out that form for your teachers. If you're part of one of the other regions that are non-NFTE Florida, Atlanta, or North Carolina, then fill out the following link that Julia provided, please. Once again, and then we'll take this feedback and provide it to your teacher so you guys can get credit for attending today's session.
Awesome. Ella, you have the floor first. Oh, I see. All right, you're dropping them. So they're dropping their information. You want to follow them on social media in the group chat. Thank you once again, all. This has been another edition of NFTE Virtual Chat. Thank you to our wonderful, amazing business owners. We so much appreciate you. You are amazing. What you do is amazing. And thank you so much for spending some time with us. Y'all have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you all. Follow us on social. Let's continue the conversation. Keep it up.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Keep rocking.
Always stay nifty.
Is there going to be a link to share this?
Yes.
The recording, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Sounds good. My teacher wanted to see.
Oh my gosh, of course. Yeah, we'll get you the link to the whole video.